What's going on, everybody? This is your man, John Fortune, and I'm your host for the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. I'm going to get right into this game. The Redskins lose to the Giants 40-16. This was probably one of the most frustrating games I've seen all season. And even though last week kind of really forced me to put my show out a little earlier than what I wanted to do, but this game really put it over the top. Now, I said on my last podcast why Mark Sanchez was such an awful quarterback and why we didn't need Butt Fumble Sanchez as our quarterback and what was going to happen with him being our quarterback long term. I said that Butt Fumble Sanchez was going to lose us every game, every single game this year. And here we are now where he goes 6 for 14 for 38 yards and threw 2 picks. 2. He had a quarterback rating of 10.7. What team do you know can win with a quarterback that has a 10.7 quarterback rating? I'm so glad that Jay Gruden had enough sense to bench him before the second half. The thing I'm really pissed off about, though, more is Greg Minuski. Again, I said in my last podcast, Greg Minuski is the worst defensive coordinator in the world. How do you have talent as superior as the Redskins when you think about Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Ryan Kerrigan, Josh Norman, DJ Swearinger, Clinton Dix, Zach Brown, Mason Foster? You're putting these guys in awful positions. And then even with that, you got our young Alabama linebacker hurt just recent in this game. Hamilton, he got hurt in this game. And I don't understand why we don't blitz. It's like almost like blitzing is a thing that's just not something that we want to do or something that's right to do. I mean, how do we give up 170 rushing yards? Rushing yards. At one time, we were the top team, one of the top teams when it came to rushing defense. And we give up 170 rushing yards to one guy. Then we had to bring in our backup quarterback. And this guy outperforms the Butt Fumble Sanchez. But again, I'm pretty sure Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy could have probably set up there and outperformed Mark Sanchez. I mean, and not only that, I heard something that was crazy because I heard something where they said that Josh Johnson was playing Madden to find out who his teammates were. But yet, I think he was playing Madden to sit up there and learn the Redskins playbook. So clearly that means that this man learned the Redskins playbook playing Madden. What was Mark Sanchez playing? Tecmo Bowl? I mean, because clearly he didn't understand that he was supposed to go out there and win this game. He clearly didn't understand how important this game was. But he made sure he lost it. He made sure that he put just enough effort to make sure he lost this game for us. Now, I have to say this. Josh Johnson did a very good job. 11 of 16, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, and check this out. 2 two-point conversions completed. This guy hasn't been in our offense at all this year, and he was able to convert two-point conversions. Alex Smith wasn't doing that. Neither was Colt, and we know Butt Fumble Sanchez wasn't doing it. Now, I will say this. I'll hold back my excitement or my enthusiasm about him being there because this guy has been with 13 different NFL teams. He has been what they call a journeyman quarterback. But this game was just one of those games where no matter what happened, we could have had Joe Montana step in. Warren Moon, John Elway, we still would have lost this game. You know why? Because the defense let so much stuff get past. They actually act like they no longer wanted to play. And you can tell. I know their post-game interviews said that they were still playing hard and all that type of stuff. No, they weren't. You can tell in that second half that they had given up. The game was already out of reach, 40-0. How do you sit up there and let a team go up on you 40-0? Understand this, if it was me and I was on that team, you best to believe I would have had penalties like crazy, because I'd have been hitting with my head and I'd have been strangling people, horse collars, all types of stuff. You know why? Because at some point, you got to show that you actually are tough. And they went out like a whimper. They went out just like Mark Sanchez did. He sat up there at the end of the game talking about, yeah, I was still supporting Josh Johnson. No, you wasn't. I saw you when you sat up there and you was standing on the sideline looking like somebody who just lost their football. We are in a state of denial when it comes to this team. And it's so messed up because we as fans love this team so much. And yet and still this team finds a way to screw us over every time. Now, I will say this. Again, this is where I think the NFL does play these little games. There were a couple plays where the refs called fouls and stuff like that, and it wasn't a foul. I mean, we had the penalty, the pass interference that happened on, I think it was Craig Stroman. No, Fabian Moreau. And the wide receiver pushed him down. And yet and still, he got flagged for pass interference. Now, this is the thing that I knew the NFL was involved in that part because of the fact that they killed the momentum of that game. Were we going to come back and win? No, we weren't. We definitely weren't. Don't kill the momentum, you know. They could have probably went into the next game a little bit better. But this game was over at the beginning. The defense gave up. I mean, again, I talked about this in my last podcast. Clinton Dix, what is he doing? He was burned on several plays today. He got burned sitting up there, letting Saquon Barkley run for that long touchdown. And then he got burned again on a reception. I mean, I don't understand why we keep running into these problems over and over and over again. I normally don't even drink. And guess what? I started drinking today. I had me a drink today. I don't even like Hennessy, but I had it today. And I may have it tomorrow. After work, of course. But still, these are the things that plague us all the time. And I don't see how we're ever going to get better. Now, I do want to give a shout out to some of the people that, you know, I'm in a lot of these groups like the Washington Redskins Asylum and Die Hard Redskin Nation and Washington Redskins Zone. You know, I want to give a shout out to a lot of people in those groups because they were responding as time went on. A lot of people sat up there and said they turned the game off in the second quarter. So a lot of people didn't even get the opportunity to see Josh Johnson even do the slightest of something for us because everybody was so frustrated with the game that people started turning it off the second quarter. Understand how crazy that is, that people felt so demoralized. Your fans feel demoralized. Understand that. It's different if players feel demoralized, but your fans felt demoralized. The fans. And I also want to say this because there were a couple people in the groups and a couple people said something that I said this in my last podcast. We're never going to get a Hall of Fame coach or anything of high quality to come to Washington. It's just not ever going to happen. And the reason is because we've become the Dallas Cowboys in DC. Dallas doesn't hire quality head coaches anymore. And you know why? Because people don't want to go there because of who the owner is. The same thing applies to us now. We've had 4 Hall of Fame coaches. 4. 3 of them during this owner's, Fan Snyder's, ownership tenure. 3. And guess what? All made them quit early. All of them. Marty Schottenheimer, he didn't even get enough time to get a chance to really do what he wanted to do or could have done for this Redskins team. We gave that man 1 year. Then you talk about we bring back Joe Gibbs. And then Joe Gibbs runs away from us. He felt so obligated to get back to driving, race car driving, and running his race car team that he didn't even want to coach the Redskins anymore. And why is that? Because they forced on him that stupid Al Saunders offense that he knew was too complicated for any quarterback to run. Other than Todd Collins, who had been running it for like 40 years. And then not only that, you also talking about the fact that, we ran Mike Shanahan out of the league to the point where this man created an offense for a subpar quarterback. And we gave that man hell. But I will say this, Josh Johnson looked good for us, though. He did look good for us. But I'm not sold. I'm really not sold. And when I think about Josh Johnson, I really think about what I'm going to close this show with. And that's the state of the black quarterback in the NFL. Currently, right now, I think we have 4 black quarterbacks that are starting this year. Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Cam Newton, and Russell Wilson. So we got 5. And it seems like that the black quarterback doesn't get the same shake that some of these white quarterbacks do. And there seems to be more leeway for a white quarterback to make tons and tons of mistakes than there is for the black quarterback to make tons and tons of mistakes or even develop. Like, I feel that the black quarterback has been highly undeveloped in the NFL. And I think that they want that way. I don't think that they have a thing where they really want the black quarterback to succeed in the NFL. I'll give you an example. Do you know that, I think it was the year before last, where there were 2 teams that had never had a black quarterback start for them. We're talking about the 21st century, where there were still 2 teams in the NFL that did not have a black quarterback start for them. You wouldn't believe who those 2 teams are. One was the New England Patriots. When Jacoby Brissett started for them, do you know that they had never had another starting another quarterback that was black start for them? When there's been plenty of teams who've had multiple black quarterbacks start for them, guess what other team has never had even to this day, still has not had a black quarterback start for them? The New York Giants. The New York Giants still has not had a black quarterback start for that team. But we have seen a whole bunch of mediocre white quarterbacks play for that team. From Phil Simms to Jeff Hostetler, even to old Eli Manning. Subpar white quarterbacks sit up there and start for the New York Giants. And like I said, I just get to the point at where I get so frustrated because the NFL, for some reason, all these coaches and stuff, they don't develop black quarterbacks like they should. I mean, in all honesty, you don't think that Cam Newton, as amazing as he is, couldn't be developed a little bit more to throw the ball a little bit better? I mean, the guy's a phenomenal athlete, but why can't they sit up there and just, for once, give him an opportunity to throw the ball at least 50 times a game? Russell Wilson is incredible. Incredible. But yet and still, he's never talked about when they talk about the best quarterback in the league right now. Every time they talk about the best quarterback in the league right now, they always sit up there and bring up the overrated Aaron Rodgers. We need to really get to a point at where the black quarterback needs to sit up there and start acting like, they're going to show the NFL that what they're doing is wrong. We're sitting up here and we see multiple teams right now that have poor quarterback play. Let's talk about one in particular. The Jacksonville Jaguars have the worst quarterback play right now, to the point at where they had to bench Blake Bortles. They knew what they had in Blake Bortles the year before. They knew that. And guess who was sitting out there? Teddy Bridgewater is backing up Drew Brees. Why? Teddy Bridgewater is a phenomenal quarterback, and he's backing up Drew Brees. Jacoby Brissett. Josh, this is what people don't want most people to know. Josh McDaniels turned down the Indianapolis coach job because of the fact that the owner sat up there and told him that he better sit up there and start Andrew Luck because that's his franchise quarterback. And Josh McDaniels was like, no, Jacoby Brissett knows my offense. So why would I start Andrew Luck when Jacoby Brissett already knows what I want to do? Jim Irsay said, nah, you're going to do what I say, and Josh McDaniels walked away from the contract. That's what happened. That's what they're not telling everybody. And it's so messed up that somebody like Colin Kaepernick is not in the NFL because the NFL did what the WWE did. And I'll give you an example. Eric Bischoff, which most people know from wrestling, he wrote a book called Controversy Creates Cash. So what the NFL did, they used Colin Kaepernick as a scapegoat to make more money when they were losing money. The NFL had been losing money for a while. They said that Colin Kaepernick was already kneeling and not standing up for the national anthem 2 years prior to when they talked about it. People didn't care or know about what was going on in the NFL or Colin Kaepernick prior to that. What happened was that the NFL had been losing money for a while. It's unreasonable to go to a game nowadays. And it costs so much for a family of four to just enjoy themselves at the game. So people tend to forget that they were having blackout games. Jacksonville was being blacked out. Cleveland was being blacked out. Cincinnati had a blackout game. I remember when I think it was Tampa Bay had a blackout game. Teams were losing money. So they had to find a scapegoat for that. And Colin Kaepernick was that scapegoat. And that's why all the teams refused to sign him. Is because they won't be able to prove they proved what he was saying, that they were all in collusion with him, with each other to keep him out of the league. And two, they would have to sit up there and admit that the reason they used him as a scapegoat was because they were losing so much money and they needed to find a way to get money back into the NFL. It's sad to see the state of the black quarterback at such a low bar when it comes to the NFL. When we've seen how successful quarterbacks are. Whenever they talk about the greatest quarterbacks that's ever graced the NFL, Warren Moon's name never comes up, even though this man was number 2 all time prior to Drew Brees and them breaking his record. This man was right behind Dan Marino when it came to passing. This man was considered the most accurate passer ever to grace the NFL. And yet and still, he is never talked about when they talk about the greatest quarterbacks that's ever graced the NFL. At this point now, I think that black quarterbacks should do something very radical and very crazy. I think that they should sit up there and go to the CFL. There's way more passing up there anyway. And show the NFL at what they're missing with these quarterbacks not being in the league. The league is getting to the point at where Everybody looks at these white quarterbacks as the way to go, when yet and still these white quarterbacks are losers, are absolute losers. I mean, again, there's so many of these teams that are losing with these white quarterbacks because they refuse to sign a black one. Tyrod Taylor is sitting on the bench in Cleveland. Guess what his former team is doing, who went to the playoffs just last year? The Buffalo Bills are losing and losing badly. Yeah, they won a couple games, but they're not the same team when Tyrod Taylor was their quarterback. I'm telling you, y'all, we need to sit up there and make sure that when it comes to these black quarterbacks, these guys need to be seen and they need to be taken seriously. Y'all leave y'all comments. If y'all like the show, do all that. Other than that, this is your host, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.